Jeff and Blake, joined by Jeff, which is where things get really confusing. Jeff Marek, host of The Sheet.
I'm the guy in the black shirt. He's the guy in the shirt.
There was a show not that long ago. You had Jeff Marek and Jeff Mallet, and I was thinking, like,
that's right.
What about me? But apparently, I'm a Jeff P, and I didn't fit the full mode of that show.
That would have been really confusing if that was the show.
I stood down that day.
Jeff, we are Jeff Marek. Marek, I'm going to go by Marek. You're Marek today.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
I'm J-Pat. Whatever.
Marek. Everybody here is. I don't know. Well, our poll question is going to determine if people are truly excited about this, but I think there's enough people that are excited about this. The Canucks are here. They have descended upon UBC.
Yes.
Guys like Evander Kane are wearing the logo for the first time, albeit a practice jersey. This is a yard marker in our hockey calendar. It's not a significant one, but hey, Elias Pettersson, the forward, is here. So is the D. But
yes,
guys are descending now, which is an exciting moment.
It's an exciting moment because you get to see like new players in their new unis, and some kind of you look like he was kind of born to wear that. I think that we all, considering where he's from, I think we all maybe quietly hope that Evander Kane went to Vancouver to play for the Canucks. The local boy goes home story, although that really didn't work out in Toronto with someone who's now in Vegas. But perhaps more on that at another time. I don't know though. See, sometimes when you see a player in a New Jersey, it's really jarring, and you say to yourself, "Wow, I never thought I would see that." Like, I'm gonna have that feeling with Ryan Reeves in San Jose. Just considering for how the longest time that market really had a lot of good old fashioned hockey hatred towards that player. Like that one's just going to seem seem a little bit bizarre to me. But no, it's exciting. Like, like the first shot of Jonathan Toews wearing a Jets jersey. Wow.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. The other guy, you always went, hey, the Manitoba boy. He's going home to play for the Winnipeg Jets. So for that reason, amongst others, I'll maintain it's a wonderful time of the year because that's when it becomes real, right? Like you read about it and you see it like, okay, Evander Kane now with the Vancouver Canucks. But until you really see the player and the new uniform, like now all of a sudden there's a denser gravity to it and it really hits home. I love it. I absolutely love this time of year.
Development camp in the summer for a prospect that was just drafted. You get to see him in a logo. Even prospects games in the fall where you get those prospects wearing the logo in a competitive, pseudo-competitive. They're just something. We're all waiting for the real bullets to fly, obviously, but it placates us to a degree.
What makes a successful season for a guy like Evander Kane? At the age of 34, is it, with his track record, is it just getting through this season with very little drama? Is it staying healthy for an entire season? Do you think that there's still enough left there in the tank after not playing in the regular season that he can be productive for a team that needs some goal-scoring help?
It's not as if, the Vancouver Canucks got him off the scrap heap. Like, there have been teams that have been interested in Evander Kane. I'm very much of the mind that there was at least one of the New York-based teams that had been interested in Evander Kane going back to his days with the Edmonton Oilers. And I had wondered whether that would ever come to fruition. I haven't been able to pin down which team that was, but nonetheless. So it's not as if like this is like, oh, if it doesn't work out, it's not like Canucks or bust here, I think, for Evander Kane. I still think a player that brings what Evander Kane does to the lineup is something that is unique, that is and more so than ever now desirable for teams. I've always said here in this most recent era, whenever I go to games, like doesn't matter NHL, junior hockey, or minor/youth hockey, I always come back saying the same thing: where did all the bad skaters go? And in a world where there's no bad skaters and everyone can play and everyone's got skill. Managers will always say, yeah, what else can you give me? And Evander Kane has that, what else can you give me? But I think, J-Pat, you nailed it off the top. First thing for Evander Kane is stay healthy. Because Evander Kane only knows how to play one style of game, and that is physical. And if he can stay healthy and get through the season with the Vancouver Canucks, I think that's the first box you check. If you're Evander Kane, you know what he's going to do. You know he can produce. You know he can play physical. I think the first thing for him is staying healthy.
We mentioned Elias Pettersson was here as well. Only the guys in the room.
Nice video. Good video.
Only the guys in the room saw whether or not he was actually swole or not. I think there's a limit. I think there's a cap. I don't think he's all of a sudden. Remember David Boston, the NFL player who was just like jacked beyond belief.
Yeah.
I don't think we're getting to that point with Elias Pettersson. But the video that we saw, I mean, and the really more the words than the video, Jeff, from his trainer saying that this guy things clicked this summer. Is that helpful or hurting? Because it does raise the bar of expectation for the player now.
I hate to rain on the parade here. I hate to bring this conversation to a dead stop. But knowing we were going to be talking about this morning, I checked in with the league, and I don't know how to break it to you, but they're not allowing cones on the ice this year.
They're not.
I know that we all love the video and how good he looked, but they're not allowing, bumper caps, and they're not allowing cones onto the ice this year. I say
Dana Merzen's not playing. Oh, that was mean. That was mean.
Oh,
that
wow.
was mean.
What was the old joke? What's the difference between a pylon and Dana Merzen? Pylon doesn't bite on the toe drag. Anyway, we move along here on the program. He looks good. And that's fantastic. Everybody knows what's at stake here. Everybody knows, and he's spoken openly about it and quite defiantly about it. And I think the last time that we were together, we talked about this, how much I admire that kind of defiance from an athlete. I think he's got a lot to prove to the Vancouver Canucks. I think he's got a lot to prove to the Vancouver Canucks fans. I think he's got a lot to prove to himself as well. Like, to me, right now, Elias Pettersson, and again, it's only Daniel Broberg puts out the video, of course, and he's looking good. So far, everything is right on course.
Yeah, exactly.
For the revenge tour for Elias Pettersson. Do we see the 100-point guy again? Sure, it'd be great if you do, but give me 85 points and two-way play and that heavy shot back, then I'll really start saying like this is even better news than we could have thought of. But right now everything just looks on track. How about that?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Want to throw a question at you. I wrote a piece this morning at Canucks Army asking how much pressure should Patrick Allvin be facing as the general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. He's the GM of a Canadian market. Of course, a team in the Canadian market. There's going to be pressure. And I don't think his job is in jeopardy. I guess maybe the better question is, as long as Jim Rutherford is still here, is Patrick Allvin safe as the general manager of the Vancouver Canucks? Or, if this season goes sideways, that will be 4.5 years on the job with one playoff appearance. Like, at what point does the temperature, do you think, rise under this general manager?
I don't think we're there yet for Allvin. I think we all understand the dynamic here and what's happening. Now, we're assuming that the word fair exists. And I've always told my kids, like, you set yourself up for disappointment if you believe the word fair. Go to your dictionary, kids, and go to the section headlined F, and the page that has fair on it, rip it out. And tear it up and throw it away, because there's no such thing as fair. We've seen this before. So would it be fair if all the pressure right now is on Patrick Allvin? Well, look, he's part of the management group, but I think we know ultimately where decisions are made and where the big conversations are being had. And I think that Rutherford understands that himself, and he would be the first to stand up and say, that was my decision. I will own it. That's always been Jim Rutherford, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think, J-Pat, for that reason, I think that right now, the first place you're going to look if things look bad after 20 games here is Rutherford, but not Patrick Allvin. I mean, are you sympathetic with that, or do you think, you're closer to it, but
no,
that's how I see
that
it.
Dynamic of ultimately the buck stops with JR. It's a different dynamic than a lot of general managers around the National Hockey League. So no, but I just think at some point, and look, if it doesn't work out for this group, it's a reflection on both Patrick and Jim. I think ultimately they're going to have the opportunity to settle this Quinn Hughes matter one way or the other, and that probably is going to determine their legacy as the management group of the Vancouver Canucks.
It's interesting reading the quotes from Quinn Hughes, and it's I can tune out the noise. In parentheses somewhere, it should be written noise that the Canucks themselves, and specifically Jim Rutherford, started.
Yeah,
right? Like this. Like what would happen if Jim Rutherford never said that? what would the conversation, would there be that conversation 2 years out about Quinn Hughes and his brothers, or would that just be reserved for the final season? Like in a perfect world, we know, and again, like we know he can't sign for a year anyhow, but if Rutherford never made those comments, I know if some butts, candies, and nuts would all have a Merry Christmas. If Rutherford never made those comments, would there be any of this right now?
It would be sporadic at best.
At best, I agree. I mean,
look at Connor McDavid. Like, it's Connor freaking McDavid, and that story, will he leave, didn't really ramp up until the last few months here on the summer that he can renew. Like, it waited until that moment, and we're still a year away from that for Quinn Hughes. So
yeah, but it's because if the Vancouver Canucks, like, we just talked about Patrick Allvin and Rutherford a second ago. If the Vancouver Canucks in their mind think to themselves, there's no amount of money that can get Quinn Hughes to stay, should they not be listening on everybody?
Yeah.
And does that not just completely change the direction of this organization?
It absolutely does. Did you hear anything? Let's just compare, I guess, and contrast.
Yeah.
And there is a different timeline here between McDavid and Hughes. Yeah. Did you see anything in there that raises eyebrows? And I'm talking Quinn Hughes right now.
From Quinn Hughes? Quinn Hughes is behaving like a thorough pro.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes is going out of his way not to throw logs on the fire. Mm-hmm. Quinn Hughes is behaving like you want your captain to behave. Like, he grows up in a hockey family. He understands this. Quinn Hughes is going out of his way to focus on things that he can control. I'm going to help lead this team to the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to focus on my game and being the best version of myself that I can be, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he is doing, and I can tune out the noise, which is of course a big one, because there's going to be plenty around this team this year. It always is around any Canadian team. But to me, he's saying all the right things. Like, honestly, like right now, Pettersson, optimism. Quinn Hughes, this has the potential to be an absolute, tornado in a trailer park. But he's trying to make sure that this is a contained fire. Make no mistake, like, there's a fire here, but he's trying to make sure that this fire is contained. He's not interested in adding to any of it. To me, he's striking all the right notes right now. He's being a pro. The
only thing that sort of caught my eye was really nothing to do with his departure, was his acknowledgement. And it's right, it's truth. But if I'm a Canucks fan, I'm a little hurt that he's so ready to acknowledge it. And there's some context around it. But when he says we're not going to be the most skilled team, like, that tells me
that's okay.
And he's right too. Neither are the Florida Panthers. They're top 10, but they're not.
Perfect example.
They're not tops.
If at the beginning of last season, coming off a Stanley Cup win, Matthew Tkachuk said, "You know what? We're not the fastest. We're not the most skilled." Everyone would have said, like, "Yeah, but that's not how you guys win the Stanley Cup."
Yeah.
You guys aren't full of burners, and you're not a traveling all-star team. Like, that's not how you win the Stanley Cup. There's a lot of different ways that you can win a Stanley Cup. In the NHL, everybody tries to ape or whatever was successful the season before, but there's more than one way to be successful in hockey, as there is in any sport. I don't know. I don't look at something like that and say anything other than that's Quinn Hughes being honest and probably acknowledging that if we're going to win, we're not going to win it by outskilling teams. Like, just like there's so many teams right now. Like, I always sort of sideways laugh at this. Carolina wins the Stanley Cup, and it's all about foot speed. Then Anaheim wins the Stanley Cup, and it's all about, you got to have muscle and nuclear deterrence and blah 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 blah. Right now, everyone's trying to out-Panther the Florida Panthers, and maybe Exhibit A is the team in Toronto, where it seems like Brad Treliving is going out of his way to try to out-Panther the Panthers instead of doubling down, as many have said, doubling down on what they already have and making the best version of that team.
Right.
I admire, I have all the time for, I really have a lot of respect for the Hughes family. I got a lot of time for Quinn. I don't see him misstepping anywhere here, even by saying, like, look, we're not going to be the most skilled team. To me, that buys you credibility because you're not trying to BS anybody.
No, that's true. I hear you. Let's talk about McDavid then.
Sure. What's new?
Is this the last year for the Canucks to deal with that guy in the division?
I still don't think so. I know it's like we're not. again, I'm coming at this from a million miles away. I don't, cheer for teams. I cheer for players and I cheer for good stories. But I still think at the end of all of this, McDavid does sign. I don't know that it's a deal that will make the Edmonton Oilers fans happy. Like, I don't think he's going max term, but I still think that, push comes to shove, he understands that his best chance right now in the NHL to win a Stanley Cup is with Edmonton. They just went there twice, and they're one of the, a handful of teams you can look at and say, yeah, they could be back there and they could win a Stanley Cup this year, specifically with the new LTIR and playoff cap rules that exist in the NHL. So winning is at a premium for Connor McDavid. I think he understands that his best chance to win right now is in Edmonton. Are they perfect? No, but every day that goes by is still another question. But, put me up against the wall and say, make a decision. It gets done before we open.
Let's go around the horn on this, guys. Let's go around the horn on this. I actually, does part of me want the Schadenfreude of him leaving and just the boiling down to Edmonton? Yes, there is a part of me that does want that.
Okay.
But overall, I as much as he's a hurdle for the Canucks to clear, if I'm a Canucks fan, I don't want him to leave the division. I love them. It's nice to have a boogeyman to chase down. Would you, if you're a Canucks fan, should you be cheering the departure of Connor McDavid, Jeff?
If you're a Canucks fan, yeah, probably.
Just for the logistics of it all.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of clears a path if the best player in the game is no longer directly in front of you. But of course, to win the cup, it's more than just beating one player. And look, we all grew up in the Gretzky era and Michael Jordan and Joe Montana. There's something about being in the presence of greatness. And
it's not like he's winning every cup, though. Like, he's not winning the cup. So
no, but I'm just to be able to see this guy on the regular come through Vancouver.
That's what I'm saying.
And he has put on some shows here.
If you're if you just sort of remove the I understand what you're saying, Blake. Make the road a little bit easier here. Like, holy smokes, this is
could be a theory.
This is like the old days when the Oilers were killers, the Flames were killers, the Jets under Howard Chuck were killers, and here's Vancouver saying how do we do this? Like, the Cup's going through these teams here, and LA erupts every now and then. Especially in the Triple Crown line days. I get it, but I don't know. The hockey fan in me is like, this guy gets to come to our building all the time and get to see Connor McDavid all the time. That's something you tell your grandkids, right? Oh yeah, I saw Connor a bunch of times. Just like, oh yeah, the old timers. Oh yeah, I saw Belleville all the time. Not a lot of people are around to talk about how they saw Rocket, but you know what I'm getting at. Oh, I saw Orr, right? Or I saw Bobby Clark in his heyday and that Montreal Canadiens dynasty team. I know what you're trying to say, but
I think that was a hell of a 7-game series they played too. Absolutely. 2 years ago, that was a great series.
Yeah, absolutely. I do find it interesting though that this is going to be one of those very unique situations. And Jeff Jackson, CEO of Hockey Ops, I talked with not too long ago, talked about how this is not going to be a negotiation. This is essentially Connor McDavid saying, this is what I want, and Edmonton
deciding his future,
giving it to him. What do you want to do here? This is going to be a really, really quick conversation. There's a lot of course, knowledge about the player through Jeff Jackson, Wasserman, Aura Group, etc. Judd Moldaver, the agent. Jeff Jackson trying to when he was an independent agent himself. Chasing Brian McDavid all over rinks in the GTA to try to get his kid to sign up when his only client base was Ben Harper and Sam Gagner. He knows McDavid really well, and we all know that about this dynamic, which is why I think it's going to be a really intriguing one. And right now, as uncomfortable as it may be for Oilers management and Oilers fans, you just got to say you got to wait till Connor's ready to do this, when he has the time to say, okay, Judd, get this done. Hey.
You mentioned the new CBA. It sort of bubbled up again this week and the rolling implementations.
Did you take the CBA to the beach? Did you take the CBA to Hawaii to chill out?
I left it behind.
You're simply spiked.
I did, but I'm wondering how much you've drilled down, because I've seen smarter people than me suggesting that with the LTIR changes and some other tweaks that it's setting up for less player movement in season, which, look, you've hosted talk radio and talk shows forever. like nothing in this sport that we all love gets people talking like trades. And
Nope.
I guess I fear, like, really, are we moving in that direction that there's going to be less in-season move? Like, I think that's a bad thing for the game, isn't it?
I don't disagree with you. I know, like, I think a lot of this, like, we'll focus on a couple of things. Like the double retention issue. The double retention issue is a weird one because it seemed to come out of nowhere. Like, who's been complaining about double retention?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard a manager complain about it. I haven't heard players complain about it. Fans certainly don't complain about it. JPAT, to your point, it encourages and promotes more movement. What I was told about this not too long ago, the double retention idea, is from, I think it might have been one of the governor's meetings, where someone brought up the idea that what we don't want in the league is players retaining teams retaining salary just to get to the cap floor. The idea being that you want to force smaller market teams to actually spend money on players.
On humans.
Because the better those teams are. Again, this is all going to go back to the one point that I've always made, and the one job that Gary Bettman has. The better the small market teams perform, the higher their franchise value is, and the higher the small market franchises value goes, so do larger markets as well. And I've always reminded myself. Someone told me this years and years and years ago, and it's always stuck with me. This person said, Gary Bettman has one job. You always have to remember this. Gary Bettman has one job. And I said, he only has one job. He goes, yes, his job is franchise value. That's it. Everything is in service of raising the value of franchises. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sort of, dressing that goes around that, but everything is to serve franchise value. And there are some very forward-thinking owners who believe that the better the small markets do, the better the larger markets will do, because their value will grow even more exponentially than they already have been with a salary cap. As restricted as the new CBA is too, it's going up even more because of it. So I always say to myself, this is a way for the NHL to force teams not to just have dead cap space, which they hate, just to make the floor. I mean, how many Datsuks, Webers just showed up on the Coyotes cap just so they could hit the floor, right? And it just allowed the Coyotes to spin their wheels. And I don't think the NHL sees any value in that. So I think that's where that one comes from. To your other point, though, you're right. This is a more restrictive CBA. And it is, when we consider the art of running a team, the art of the general manager, man, handcuffs around GMs are even becoming more tight now. It's tighter. Remember the carefree, freewheeling days of Bill Torrey and Sam Pollock, where they were the architects of the team. We talked about Patrick Allvin a couple of seconds ago. Not that it's like a hostile move towards the managers, but man, it's tough to be a manager now. It is so restrictive, and if you want to change your team quickly, good luck.
No, give me the Flames and the Leafs basically swapping rosters mid-season. Come on,
players. I know.
Mike Gillis is on line one. He'd like you to know that handcuffs have been around for a while now.
Yeah, I always, speaking of Mike Gillis, dude, do you ever wonder? And I think we looked at this CBA and said, "Geez, where are the wins for the players?" Mike Gillis was a finalist for that executive director position for the NHL Players Association. I just wonder how different this CBA negotiation and B final document would have been if Mike Gillis would have got the job.
Yeah, I mean, his personality, his way of communicating has changed, and he's softened a lot in that regard. But ultimately, I think he'd become a hawk in the negotiation room. Ultimately, so I agree. It probably would have been. That's why I don't put it this way. I don't think we'd have the changes right now. Yeah.
I think he'd say there's no pressure for us to do a deal right now, so we're not doing a deal.
Jeff, pleasure as always. We can smell it. It's close.
It's close. We're coming.
It's just the coolant in the Zambonis, but I can smell something. We're getting close.
Oh, bad coffee and Zamboni fumes. It's almost here, boys. Here we go. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks.